All right, we are live. This is Coach Arnie with the Health, Love, and Life show. And this week we have a very special guest. But before we get to that, I just want to let everybody know that the fastest way to get a hold of me is over on, let's just go through the platforms. Instagram, Coach Arnie F. I spent a lot of time on Twitter at Real Coach Arnie and LinkedIn, Arnie Fonseca Jr. And I'm playing a lot on TikTok. So for those of you that don't know about TikTok, get over there and start getting some videos on there. Follow me at Real Coach Arnie as well. And on Facebook at Arnie Fonseca Jr. or Coach Arnie. So get on over there. And there's my phone number, 602-390-9144. Go ahead, send me a text or just give me a call and let's chat. If something's bothering you, let's talk about it, and hopefully I can help you out. But tonight we have a real special guest that was referred to me by Cece, Dr. Gary Epler. He's from Harvard, so he's one of those smart guys. And he is going to give us some information about what he teaches, which is he calls Alive with Life. I love it. And he's got a lot of energy. And he's going to share a lot about his philosophy about life. And he's been on quite a number of national shows here this past year promoting what he's doing about medical health, business topics, you name it, this guy can do it. And we're just going to get into some fun stuff. I'm going to ask him a few questions, just kind of let Dr. Gary run with it. And I'm sure he will share with you how to get a hold of him as well, buy his books and information and contact him as well. And so let's just have some fun tonight. So here we are, a big welcome to Dr. Gary Epler from Boston and the Harvard Medical School. Gary, how you doing?
Hey, Arnie, just fantastic. We were just talking, had a great run this morning. I'm all fired up, ready to go.
I know, and I didn't mention to you, I went out for Thursday is my kind of a run strength day. I pull a tire for about a mile and then I do some
nice.
So I went out to get my tire ready to go and it started raining.
Hey,
so in Arizona, when it starts raining, we just go inside.
Oh, all right.
But I didn't want to challenge it only because normally and I'll throw this one at you. Normally I do a barefoot tire pull. So I pull it barefoot and it's darker here now. So I got to put my headlamp on. And so I don't step on any nails or glass or anything.
All right.
Yeah. So I just thought, I'm going to go back inside and ride my bike. And but it's all good.
It's all good.
About 10 times a year, Gary. So we're all good.
There you go.
Let's just start off with, why don't you take a few minutes, Gary, and just tell everybody a little bit more about yourself, what you're all about, and, what started all this for you, and what are your goals? Where are you going with this?
Oh, absolutely. It all started in medical school. I discovered a parasite down in South America, in Colombia. It was a small, little, tiny parasite that hadn't been discovered before, and it's a new species. Paragonamyces caliensis is the name of it because we stayed in Cali, Colombia, and that started me off in research. And then here in Boston, during training, I discovered a lung disease. And that is really exciting because it turned out it's rare, but it can be treated. And so for many years, I've been seeing patients all over the world with this lung disease, and it's taken me all over the world. And from that, I learned what people do. The people that have this disease, it's called BOOP. It's B-O-O-P.
What was that called? What's it called?
Betty Boop. B-O-O-P.
I love it.
Bronchiolitis obliterans organizing pneumonia. And I realized some people do extremely well and others don't. And everybody should do well with this disease. And I've learned what people do well, and I've taken those lessons, and that's what this book is all about. And then the past few years, I've been doing research trying to find something that can improve people's lives all over the world. And I finally discovered it just very recently. And I love to talk about it. It's a life philosophy. It's a new modern life philosophy.
Well, you've got my attention. So why don't you, when you're ready, why don't you just drop that on us, Doctor?
Hey, that sounds good. It's based in this new brain science. The past 2 or 3 years, we've learned more about the brain than ever before. In a medical school, we had a thing called multiple personalities. Maybe you've heard about it. It was sort of schizophrenic. It was an abnormality. But it turns out that we all have many different regions in the brain, and they each have a specific function. And the philosophy is, the discovery that I've made is, why not use that? Why not each one of us every day use that? For example, it's the actual philosophy, 7 words. It says, know who you are moment by moment. That's the 7-word philosophy. Know who you are moment by moment. And we often hear this thing, know thyself. Well, I never knew what that meant. Psychologists don't know what that means. And then we hear this thing, live in the moment. Well, again, I don't know what that means, but now I do. And that's what this is about. And the idea is you go into you stay in those good brain regions, and you get out of the bad ones, and get out of them fast. The good ones, the prefrontal cortex, that's what we make decisions with. We make good ones to make them for ourselves, and we make it for everybody else too. And then the other good one is creative region. Stay in that one. And then, of course, positive relationships. That's a separate region, and stay in that one as long as you want. And then we get into a little tricky one. It's called the Accumbens Pleasure Center. A fantastic place to be. I mean, that's what we're all about. We seek pleasure and avoid pain. And the trick is, with this particular center, you want to go there with positive events, maybe a lunch with your wife, or dancing, or something positive, sort of a natural positive thing. You do not want to go there with sugar, alcohol, or drugs, because that's the addiction center. So that's a little tricky. But the whole concept of this is that you only can be in one center at a time. And
may I interrupt? That reminds me of something before I get into some of these other questions here. And I just wrote this note here that I'm a big believer in gratitude. Yeah. And I believe that gratitude is the one emotion that can pull us out of the, basically we can't, when we're dealing with fear and anger, okay, it's awful hard to stay in that area of our brain, that emotion.
Get out.
If we're feeling,
get out.
If we're feeling gratitude and grateful. What do you feel about that?
That's exactly it. And that gets us to, those are the good sections, good regions. Let's get to the bad ones. And it's called the amygdala anger center. It's a little tiny one. It's the crocodile brain. It just runs on instinct, and it'll save your life 2 or 3 times, maybe in your whole lifetime. But those 2 or 3 annoyances that were going to happen today, somebody's going to yell at us, they'll insult us, we'll get rejected, somebody will cut you off in traffic. It's going to happen. I mean, 2 or 3 times today. And that anger center fires up. And that's the amygdala. And when that happens, the adrenaline response, or 20 different things happen. You clench your teeth, you get all fired up. And the thing about, you got to get out of there. And there's 3 ways to do it. Gratitude was a good one. And there's 3 ways to get out of there. One of them takes about 4 or 5 seconds. And is what you do is you learn how you respond to anger. Maybe you clench your teeth, you hold your fists, and you just do that. You just think that. You just think that. Nothing else. Just feel it, and let it peak. And it'll take about 5 seconds, and it'll go away. And it's the science behind it is you fired up the adrenaline response, but we have an opposite calming response, and it's built in, and it will take over if it once it finds out that this is not a real life threatening emergency. But if you keep the second thought, the third thought, the anger, keep it going. Oh, that guy cut me off, and I'll show him. And you're on the rage. That's a catastrophe. You don't want to repeat that. You want to stop and get it out of there. And that's one way to do it is just feel it, let it peak. And then that sympathetic, the parasympathetic, the calming effect will take over. A second way to do it is to do the opposite. When you're angry, it's usually because something's been taken from us. That's the definition of anger. Something's been taken, and it's been taken viciously from us. Got fired, or somebody did something to you, money taken from you. So you do the opposite. It's the physics. It's for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. So in that case, help, give, just give. Something's been taken, so do the opposite. Give your time, give your energy, and give your help, and expect nothing in return. That's the equal part, and instantly get out of there. That will permanently get you out. If it's something, you go off to habitat, and not only that, you might end up in the pleasure center. You'll end up anywhere else but in that amygdala. And the third one, having gratitude. Arnie, you said gratitude. It's the same concept of you have to change your thinking and get out of that particular region.
Well, let me, I'm a big believer in all things that begin well have a really good chance of ending well. So my question to you is, how do you suggest people have their best day?
The best day, there's 5 things, Arnie. It starts the night before. The best day starts the night before with 8 hours of sleep.
There you go.
And you have to have those 8 hours. And the reason you need 8 hours is because we have a energy chemical, a brain chemical. It's called adenosine. And that winds down during the day. And that's why maybe at night you don't feel like making decisions. You don't feel like doing much because your adenosine's all wound down. But 8 hours, it'll go right back up. 6 hours is not enough. In 10 hours, you don't want 10. You just want 8. And that's really why you have those 8 hours of sleep. And it's for that prefrontal cortex. It's for the hippocampus, the memory system. It's not for the amygdala. The amygdala, no sleep, none. And junk food, no sleep. And that amygdala wants to take over. And if you don't take care of that prefrontal cortex, an amygdala take over, and you need those 8 hours. And that's the way you start the next day is the night before. 8 hours of sleep. You get up in the morning and you do 1 hour of exercise. 1 hour every day, 7 days a week. And you can do anything you like. You can go for a run. You go for a walk, a hike, and I mix it up. Go for a run, usually outside, sometimes on a treadmill. You can do the elliptical, and then I do yoga stretches, and then I go for a swim 2 or 3 times a week. And I also do the classes, like spin class, and my wife, she does her hour every day, and she loves the classes. And the classes are great because you not only get the exercise, but you get the bonding thing moving there, and you have lifelong friends, and it's just fantastic. That's the way you start the morning, is with that 1 hour of exercise. That's 2. 3, nutrition. You've got to eat I call it a healthy nutrition lifestyle, not a diet. Diets are the biggest cause of weight gain in the United States. They all work. You lose your 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever it is. 5 years later, you've not only gained what you were before, but another 10 or 20 pounds. And it happens over and over and over. Lifestyle, a healthy nutrition lifestyle in my formula is real easy. Eat the right foods in the right amount at the right time, prepared in a healthy manner. And that's the formula, and it works. Those right foods, got to tell you, Those are foods that don't cause inflammation. They're foods with added sugar, added salt, and processed omega-6 fats. Those are the bad ones. They cause added. The natural occurring ones, it's not an issue. And the other, prepared in the right way, fried foods, they're not good for you. They cause inflammation of those beautiful little arteries going to the heart. And so that's the third thing you do is that healthy nutrition. And then the fourth one is you got to know you're not in control of the day. You absolutely not. You can make your nice, wonderful plans, which you should do the night before, but they may not work that way. The day is in control of gravity. It's in control of time and thousands of other forces. And so you just deal with it and you enjoy the good, you deal with the bad, and you roll through the day. And that's how you have a great day.
You mentioned the hippocampus. And I've been, when we first talked, I've done brain rehab for a long time, and a lot of people up until, even today, most people today don't think that the hippocampus, which is the memory center, which is really affected by Alzheimer's, and which is a form of dementia.
Sure.
And most people today, even in the memory field, don't think that we can do anything with the hippocampus, but it's been shown now for quite a number of years that the hippocampus volume can increase.
Absolutely.
And we can, through neurogenesis, which I'm sure you're well aware of, we can, through all the things that you just shared there, sleep and exercise, nutrition, those are the keys to neurogenesis. But gosh darn it, they can't put that in a pill yet, doctor.
Oh, we don't need it.
I know, but people are waiting for that. So, but because of that, that neurogenesis, that hippocampus volume, do you get a lot of people that challenge you on when you speak about the hippocampus, or is it a better understanding there at Harvard on the fact that the hippocampus can improve? So a lot of the things we're doing now with memory and dementia is kind of, it's I don't know. I mean, almost like we're spinning our wheels when the answer is right in front of us, right? It's like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. She could have gone home anytime she wanted if she just clicked her heels, Gary.
That's it. Yeah, the hippocampus, it's one of those regions. It's, we talked about the prefrontal cortex and the accumbens and that amygdala, and that hippocampus is right near the amygdala, actually. And it's all memory, and it's fantastic. And as I said, you need to have these lifestyle, these elements of sleep and nutrition and meditation and even self-healing, which we can talk about. But you need those lifestyle elements to keep that prefrontal lobe 100% online, and the hippocampus. That's why you do these. It's for those two regions.
And you know what?
The others don't need it.
No, and here's the thing that really bothers me, because I've worked with, and I'm not sure. I mean, please share with us. But I've worked with individuals that were diagnosed with some very serious dementia, and presented that way. And in only a couple days a week, I've seen those individuals, when they are in an environment where they're eating better, less processed foods, where their environment is optimized through a loving and encouraging environment, and then they have some purpose, exercise, all that good stuff. I've seen them in my own two eyes right here get better.
That's right. That's right.
Better. And yet, while everything around, all the others around them are falling apart. And you know what? The only thing I gather from the people that are observing the same thing, it's too much work. That's it. That's what it comes down to. And so, I've come to the position now in my life. That's okay. Because I told this lady today, look, I don't care. I care about you.
Right.
I care about you. And I'm going to give you everything I got.
Yeah.
Everything I got.
You're absolutely right about this elasticity. We were in medical school, and for years we're taught, oh, the brain stops growing when you're 23,
Oh yeah.
and it just, I mean, that is
Forever.
absolutely wrong.
Oh,
It's very neuroelastic,
yeah.
and these neural pathways can grow instantly right now, tonight. They can start growing, and the hippocampus, the taxi cab drivers, well, the old ones in London, they were brutal what they had to do. They had to memorize these maps and they had to
Mm.
pass all kinds of tests. Their hippocampus actually got bigger than than
Wow.
the bus drivers, because the bus drivers, they just knew the route. But taxi drivers, their hippocampus actually got bigger.
Wow.
Piano players, their particular hippocampus, the section gets bigger, and it can grow. It can grow phenomenally, but
You know
you
what
got
I've
to take
noticed
care of it.
too?
Got to
I,
take care of it. That's the key.
I love it. And maybe in some of your studies, have you worked with individuals where they did things like ping pong and tennis, and I'll do things with like balls and where they balloons where they have to hand-eye coordinate. I have found, Gary, to be one of the best ways with individuals to build that the different parts of the brain, especially in the hippocampus. I think it's total.
It is total.
It's total to me.
Yeah. Right.
Have you found that as well? Those types of things?
I have. There's no question about it. And you talked about a pill. Oh, we need a pill for this, for that. Oh no, you really don't. I like it the other way. I like the natural kind of thing of this exercise, the nutrition, the sleep. It takes a long time. It's a lot of work, and it takes a ton of discipline. But the reward is so fantastic.
Sure.
I mean, it's so much better than pills. And that's and our brain can absolutely make any pill there is right now. It's capable. Certainly, all these pills taken for psychiatric illnesses and so forth, and a simple thing like morphine, we make that. We make it, and we can make it in the right amount, and it won't have any side effects, and it won't be addictive. And just, you can go on with all kinds of things we can actually make. We don't need pills, but we do need discipline and time. It does take discipline and time.
Hey, Dr. Gary, we are going to take a quick break here, and we're going to come right back, and I've got some great questions for you, but you've got my brain going right now. So thank you for that. So we'll take just a few minutes here, or a few seconds here.
All right.
Yeah. I went over 2 minutes. So it's okay. I'm learning. I need a big red flag to wave in front of me.
There it is. Come back on.
It's like in a radio. I did a radio show in studio before, and they had to watch that clock.
Yeah.
I think she's. Oh, okay. Here we go. We're ready to go again. Okay. We'll come back on now. And Gary, again, thank you for that. That was great. And I've got my questions. I have are, gosh, when it comes to the brain, the healing of the brain and the hippocampus. And my question is this, because it's a big passion of mine. And I don't think you and I talked about it before, but I've been working a lot with the schools here in Arizona, and it's a big passion with the suicide rate, the anxiety, the depression, the loneliness that's going on right now in the schools. It's really epidemic. It really is epidemic. And I am seeing a lot of the same things that are affecting people in their 80s and, well, mostly their 70s and 80s when it comes to memory and brain issues with these young people. And I think that I'm not a Harvard-trained medical person, but I'm feeling that the same issues that affect the brain as we age, as far as nutrition and environment and purpose and exercise, I think that they're really hitting these young people because of the food they're eating, their terrible environments. There's no encouragement. There's no love and encouragement going on. And I think that that's a big part of this epidemic that we're seeing. What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, there seems to be a lot of anger in the United States right now. It just people are angry, and I talked about that amygdala and that region of the brain, and you can be in that amygdala, you can be there. It takes over for minutes, hours, and some people a whole lifetime. I mean, that's just where your baseline is. That's the way you think. And there's a lot of anger, and the anger. Why is there anger now? I don't know. It's something people feel something's been taken from them. That's what anger means. I don't know what it is that people have been taken. Is it pride? Is it freedom? Is it their choice? I don't know. But people are angry, and of course the solution. The solution is, I told you, the solution is if something's been taken from you, give. That will solve the problem. You cannot be angry when you're giving.
Give what you want. Give what you want to receive. Is that right?
Yeah, just give. Give your time. Give your energy, and give your help. And don't expect anything back. Don't expect money. Don't expect a thank you. You may get it, but just give. And that it'll absolutely neutralize that anger, and a chronic anger. And so that's one thing. You mentioned this. There seems to be that anger going around, and it's probably cyclic. Over the past century, ups and downs, and we're hitting sort of an anger time. But the other thing is, I didn't get to the new brain region that's been just very recently discovered. It's called the cingulate. The posterior cingulate cortex, the PCC. It's a little bigger than the amygdala, but it's a bad place to be. Whenever you're thinking about yourself, you're in the cingulate. And there's a lot of things going on there. One is that's the self-pity center. Oh, yeah, I feel sorry for yourself, and you nobody has it as bad as I do. That self-pity thing. That's all cingulate thinking. And the other one is the destructive one. You beat yourself up. You say, oh God, I made a mistake. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm a failure. I'm this and that. And you go on and on. And that's the other thing that goes. That cingulate therapy, cingulate thinking. And how you get out of there? It's real easy. If you're beating yourself up, do the opposite. Kind to yourself. It's called compassion, self-compassion. You've got to be kind to yourself. You get in that pity center, the pity party, whatever it is, be kind to yourself. And that will get you out of that thinking. Now, the other thing that goes on there, it's this self-centered, self-important thinking. It's the privileged kind of thinking. Well, I'm special, and I deserve this, and I deserve that, and these people don't, and those people don't. It's this kind of thinking. It all comes from the cingulate, and you got to get out of there. You can't stay in that cingulate. It's just not a fun life. It's certainly not healthy for you, and it's certainly not healthy for anybody else. And the worst part of the cingulate thinking is Machiavellian thinking. This is where people will do anything to anybody else, family, friends, organizations, countries, to get ahead, anything for themselves. And it's a catastrophe. You don't need that kind of thinking. And again, the way you get out of that is that kind of thinking is take. It's kind of a take mentality. People, you just know people just take. They just take everything. They take people's pride. They take their energy. They
take the energy out of a room, don't they?
They take the energy out of a room. They just take. And so give. Once again, just give. Give that time and energy and just give. And that'll get people out of that cingulate thinking. Cingulate thinking, you don't need it. It's not. It's like that amygdala. It's only there for an emergency, a life-threatening emergency, right? Because it's a one level up from the amygdala. It'll give you a little special thing to get out of that life-threatening automobile accident or something you've been in. But that's 2 or 3 times in your whole life. Other times, out of there. You don't need to be in there at all. So there you go.
Before we get to our next questioner, I just want to take a quick second and mention WGSN DB Radio, and that's where Dr. Gary and I are on right now. So make sure you guys check that out, WGSN DB Radio, and that's the goingsolomedia.com. So check all that out. And CC Schatz is hosting us tonight, so we're very appreciative of that. But Gary,
Arnie, I got to interrupt. You have a little thing here about this is a solo, and it's something about singles and so forth.
Yeah.
And I was going to tell you a nice little story about for singles, and here it is. We all know that your heart rate goes up when you fall in love. Everybody knows that. But I'll tell you, it works the other way around too. If your heart rate goes up, you might fall in love with whoever you're with. And that goes to my story of I was training for the New York Marathon on the Charles River about 5:30 in the morning. And there comes my future wife the other direction. And our heart rates were up. And it didn't take long, I think about 10 seconds. And it was sort of that love story is still going on today. And so the lesson is do something that increases your heart rate. Go for a hike together. To go dancing together. You go for a dinner, you spend $200 or $300 and nothing really happens. You got to get that heart rate up. Get that heart rate up. You'll be amazed. You might fall in love with somebody.
And you go. And keep your head up.
Keep their head up. That's right.
You never know who you're going to run into.
You never know literally who you're going to run into.
I love that.
But it's great. Exercise together. Get the heart rates up together and you'll be surprised.
That leads into this then. How do you adopt healthy behaviors and turn them into habits?
Oh,
that seems to be so hard for people, especially now that we're coming up to the first of the year.
Yep. Yeah.
Everybody's going to get all their glorious, new year's resolutions. But for me, I'm a big believer in what I've learned from Dr. Jeff Spencer, that if it's not the right goal, it's not going to really matter, is it? So how do you get these? How do you adopt some healthy behaviors that you've talked about tonight and turn them into habits?
Absolutely. This is so key. Everybody knows you've got to exercise. You need to eat healthy foods. Everybody knows that. They've known it for thousands of years.
There you go.
Why don't they do it? Well, the reason let's take exercise. Oh, I can't exercise. I'm too busy. I got to pick up the kids. I got to get an outfit. I need to drive to the place. I got to pay for the gym. Excuse. Just one bad excuse, hundreds of them. And they're all correct. It's not an issue. But here's what to do is wherever you are, just get up, open the door, and go for a walk. 12 minutes. Just 12 minutes. Just go out. No equipment, nothing. Just go out for a walk and come back. And ask yourself, you feel better now than you did before? You're going to say yes. That's what to remember about exercise. The positive part, not all those thousands and thousands of excuses. It feels phenomenal. And it decreases stress, gives you a ton of energy. And that's the way you get a habit going. You think of the good parts, not the thousands of negatives. And it's the same with food. You have a choice between a candy bar and some carrots. All right? Snack. I mean, come on. That candy bar. Oh, my mouth's starting to water just thinking about it. It's got perfect fat and it's perfect salt and perfect sugar. Whoa. I mean, it's fantastic. A hot fudge sundae or something compared to carrots. But here's the deal. That lasts for 20 to 30 seconds, that feeling. That's it. That's all it is. 20 to 30 seconds, that big, great feeling you get from that candy bar. And about 90 minutes later, you're going to say, ugh, I don't feel like doing that email. I don't feel like doing that report. I don't feel like doing anything because you've crashed. Right? This is not cool. The carrots. All right, the carrots. Well, they're not much taste, but they're crunchy. They're crunchy. And they give you great energy. You don't get to crash. And here's the big thing. You've got to think of the good things that those carrots do long term. Compared to that fast 30 seconds of pleasure and a crash, plus you're going to get inflammation. That's going to cause heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, and it's going to cause strokes. It's even going to cause cancer from that candy bar. It's going to do it. You keep adding those up over day, and a year, it's going to do all of those things. Those carrots, oh no, it's not going to do that. It's not going to hurt you, those carrots. You're going to go straight out. That's what somebody asked me, why am I doing all of this? Because it's for me. I'm doing all my things because I want to help people, but I want to improve people's lives. But it's for me because I want to go straight out. I don't want to get the dwindles. It's straight out and just fall off a cliff or something. No dwindles for me. None of the diabetes and the all crunched over and then the wrinkles and wobbling around. Nope. I'm straight out. And those carrots will do that for you. And that's the way you develop good habits. You think a little bit longer term and you think of the positive things.
I love it. Why don't you take a few minutes, and I want to know a little bit more about this, how to use the Eplerian philosophy of living moment by moment.
Right. That's it. That's it. There's a Eplerian philosophy, and that's exactly what's developed just recently, and it means literally is to know who you are moment by moment, and there's this thing about know thyself, and nobody can do that. Well, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a student. I mean, what is this? That makes no sense because we're all of those things. But moment by moment, you are in one of those brain regions. And that's the key thing, is know which one you're in, because you can control it. You can manage it. If you're in a bad one, you got to get out of there. If you're in the good ones, just enjoy it and be creative and enjoy things. And the incumbent, they just go with the flow. And that's what I mean by moment. Know who you are. And when you're in that cingulate, just get out of there. And you're in that amygdala. And I do it. It really works. It's just amazing. I find myself, I'm failing. I can't do this. I can't do this thing. And you get all depressed and things. Whoa, you can get out of there instantly if you know it. That's what I mean by know who you are moment by moment. You can control your emotions. Someone, you talked about being challenged. Someone challenged me, says, you can't control your emotions. Show me some evidence. Show me some studies that control. You can control your emotions.
Sure you can.
And this is how you do it.
Well, you already mentioned it earlier. One of the fastest way to control your emotions is movement.
Yes. Right.
If I'm doing a talk, and I'm sure you've done it before, if you're doing a talk and if you say, okay, everybody stand up and put your arms over your head and spin around,
right.
I promise you everybody's emotions have now changed.
Right.
And if they're feeling tired and they're all of a sudden they're back alert again, and if somebody was thinking negative thoughts, you've disrupted that pattern.
Anything, yeah.
And that's the simplest way, was movement.
Yes.
That's why whenever I do anything with anybody, I always start with movement. I had a long talk with a gentleman last night, and he was driving me a little crazy only because he was overanalyzing everything.
Right.
Because to me the simplest thing to do is move.
Right.
Then we can learn how to eat. But sometimes when we start with, and this goes back to your original thought here, sometimes when we talk to people about what they're eating, they immediately feel we're taking something away from them.
That's it. That's
angry,
it. We can't do that. Yeah, you're right.
No,
exactly. You can't take away.
No, they get angry, and all of a sudden, whatever parts of the brain that you were sharing earlier, they get shut down on us.
Yeah, they do.
And they're not listening anymore. Versus we go for a 5-minute walk.
Right.
All of a sudden, they're feeling pretty good.
That's right.
They might even want to listen.
They will listen. Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, I love that what you said. I mean, because it's simple.
Right.
It's simple.
Right.
And then we can get him. Then we can coach him to the next thing.
Then you get to the next level. Exactly.
Yeah. And you know what? And then on top, because we don't know what they're going through in their life. I mean, they could be going through a death in the family. They could
Absolutely.
They could be, there might be somebody at work that's bullying them and pushing them around. Right? They could be dealing with an addicted child, or
it goes on and on.
we can't assume anything, can we?
No.
We can't. No. I think that's why I love your moment by moment, because I'm a big believer, Dr. Gary, in unconditionally loving somebody, and I'm going to use your term now, moment by moment.
There you go. That's it, Arnie.
Moment by unconditionally loving them, because I think judgment is poison.
Oh, it is. Ooh. Yes. Yeah, it is.
And I have found, and I'm not sure our age is here, but I don't know how close, but I know this. I have found in 2019, judgment is epidemic.
That along with anger, those are connected.
Maybe obviously
judgment.
Connection there.
Yeah.
I am, and I'm feeling that judgment from people that are telling me not to judge.
Right.
Which is bizarre. I think it's like almost bizarro world.
It is almost epidemic, and of course, judgment. It comes from the cingulate. You're thinking about yourself.
Okay.
Right.
Is that
you wouldn't if you weren't that cingulate thinking, you wouldn't judge anyone. You just wouldn't do it because you're thinking about yourself. You're comparing this comparing thing. You just don't need to be in that cingulate, that kind of thinking. And judgment, the way to get out of that is compassion. Just be kind. Be kind. Kindness is a cool word. Kindness comes from the heart. Being nice is an obligation. Right?
How do you feel about the statement that
people say, "Oh, you need to be nice," or it's a nice person. That's not good enough.
No.
It's really an obligation. But kindness comes from the heart. That's phenomenal. I mean, you talk about single life and trying to find your spouse. That's a hard thing to do. And one good way to find your mate is as I said before, it's naturally doing something naturally, and one good way to do that is do something you love to do, because somebody else is going to be love to do that, and you might meet up that way. And the other thing about sort of looking for someone, and you're in your 20s and 30s, it's kind of silly, but you really should live your life like you've already met that person for about 10 years. In other words, live a clean life, and not the kind of life that you go out drinking every night and picking up whatever comes along. Just live your life really clean, for those years, and you will meet the right person that way. And the kindness of all the traits, if the person is kind, boy, that's a keeper. So,
let me circle back to that kindness. What do you feel about the thought that we're all chasing happiness? Everybody, what do you want? Oh, I want to be happy. Okay.
Right.
What do you feel about to me, the fastest way to get to that happiness is through kindness. Because if you open a door for somebody or you smile at somebody, do you find that it changes their thought process almost instantaneously?
Instant. It is. It's instant. It's both people. Happiness. It's one of the important part about this philosophy of living moment by moment is to do all these health practices we've been talking about, to sleep and exercise and so forth. And there's a couple more. One of them is maintain a high level of happiness. Now, happiness got a lot of definitions. Here's mine. My definition is being content with what you have at that moment. Learn to be content with what you have, because you always want more. You can't think of what you don't have. You just can't do that. It'll drive you nuts. Just be content with what you have. And the thing is what I mean by you need to keep your level above 8 to 10 on a scale of 10. Is what happens if you get to a 6. Say, if you're below a 5, you may need professional help. I mean, that's not a cool thing. You really may need professional help. But a 6, here's what a 6 does. You can get to a 6. Well, I got to a 6. It just, things kept going on and on and on, and it just didn't work out. And I said, gee, this is just not good. And I got to get out of this 6. And you say, well, how can I possibly get out of a 6 level when the whole world's falling apart? I lost my job. I'm not making enough money. I'm spending more than I'm making. I've lost my relationship. But how can you do that? That's the time you have to do it, because nobody wants to be around you at level 6. And the very people that are going to help you don't want to be around you. You've got to get up to an 8 to 10. And how you do that? Here's one way to do it. You talked about, Arnie, you talked about gratitude. You say, well, okay, what can I be grateful for? Here you are in this moment. The world's falling apart. You just lost your job. You don't have any money. How can I be happy of 8? Well, be grateful. So then, okay, be grateful for what? My house? Well, that's costing me money. My car? That's costing me a fortune. You go through all these things. But there is one thing you can be grateful for, and that's someone that's not taking anything from you. And that's absolutely amazing. Maybe it's your husband, your wife, your son, your daughter, a friend, somebody you know is not taking anything from you and never will. They only give. And that'll give you 0.1. It'll give you 0.1. So now you got a 6.1. And if you have 2 of them, that'll give you a 6.2. You got to get up to a 6.3, and then you can go. But how do you get that third one? Well, it's really desperate. You're really desperate. You say, well, geez, what is it? What did that Franco guy do in World War II? How did he went through what he went through? How did he survive?
Viktor Frankl?
Yes. How did he survive? He said, I'm alive. That's all it was. I'm alive.
They can take everything from me except one thing, how I choose to respond.
That's exactly it. And he said, I'm alive. And being alive, so gee, what does that mean, being alive? Well, here's what it means. If you're alive, you can have some high energy. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't make any difference where you are. You can be creative. Again, where you are, no matter what you are, creative. You can have positive experiences no matter how bad it is. You can figure out positive experiences. You can have extraordinary friends. And you can have all those things. And that'll give you a point. Now you're 0.6, and then you just go from there. And so this kind of happened to me a while ago, and I was working my way up to 8. And I was up to 8. And it was fine. 8's good. And I was working out, and my friend I hadn't seen for years, he used to live in our neighborhood. It was 20 years ago or so. And we were talking, just sort of gabbing in the morning. He said, I saw you and Joan, it's my wife, running in the morning. You were the 2 happiest people he'd ever seen.
Wow.
That gave me 0.5. So,
Hey, Gary,
so
I want
that's what you need to do.
I love it. I want you to take the last 30 seconds or minute here and tell everybody how they can find you. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. Tell everybody how they can find Dr. Gary Epler.
Sure. It's the website's Gary, Gary, and Epler, EPLER.com. There it is. And I'll answer anything you like.
Guys, I want to thank you. We got to get out of here. It's been an awesome show. I could have kept talking to this guy all night. Health, Love, and Life with Coach Arnie. And I love you guys. I love you, Coach. I love you, Gary. You're awesome. And enjoy Boston. And
Absolutely.
Go Patriots. How's that?
Hey, there you go.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you, Dr. Gary.
All right. It's great.
Thank you, Cece.